Hello and welcome to episode 25. So big day today, it's time for trains. The whole episode is going to be a time lapse of the trains going down. So I'm going to talk over it because there's multiple things I want to explain. First, the criteria for the train tracks. Okay, well, I want to be able to have a network, and wherever I want on the map and there's a resource, I can put down a station, a short section of track to get to the main line, and then it can go either direction. So I want a 2-track main line. I want it to go in a circle. That way it doesn't matter where point A is and where point B is. It'll just get on the main line, get to B, and then go off the main line. And we can have multiple trains on it going different directions. So 2-track main line in a big circle. The problem becomes, where are you going to put the circle? I don't want a giant sky bridge way up in the sky. That would be the simplest thing, is to just calculate kind of a midpoint and draw this square where 50% maybe of the map is inside the square and like 50% is outside the square, because then you're technically as close to as many things as possible. I don't want that. If that's how you want to play, hey, more power to you. Do it. I don't care. But when I look at stuff like that, I don't like it. I want to look at something and it make me just feel good. Like, oh, I like the way that looks. So for me, no, I don't want the stuff way up in the sky. Okay. Well, I also don't want it on the ground, because the map, even the areas that you seem like that kind of look kind of flat, aren't really that flat. They're kind of just going up and down, and you get this roller coaster effect. So I want it up off the ground, but I don't want a million elevation changes where we go up and we go down and we go up and we go. So I want to try to pick an elevation that I can hold that elevation for as long as possible. And then we'll do an elevation change, and we'll make the elevation change as, minimal as we can. So I'm going to start talking about the blueprints for a second now. So obviously I've got a blueprint. I can slap it down really quick until I get to a corner, which I'm working on a corner right now, and that requires a little bit of work. And see there, I'm on a straightaway again, so I can just go flying down the straightaway. At this point, I actually ran out of concrete. Last episode, we put 4-dimensional depots in to get us concrete, and it ran out right there. I actually ran back to base, and all the storage containers were full. Just the depots, 4 maxed out depots wasn't enough, so I switched it to 8 maxed out depots, which I still kind of run out, but I can keep going. So I've got the main track blueprint with the auto connect, and it just goes down real quick. It's also got a short set of the bridge pillars or the legs underneath. And then I have a second blueprint, which you'll see here. So that's the first blueprint, right? Oh, yeah, I skipped that spot. I forgot to record that. So what you'll see here is you'll see the first blueprint go down, and then in a second, and there's the second blueprint. So it's basically a continuation of the legs. It's another blueprint height, right, that takes the legs down farther. So I got to fill that in. Where it's close to the ground, I don't need to do that. And then we're at a turn again. The turns are very time consuming, but not as bad as an elevation change. And we're actually at the same elevation. When we first started that first segment, at the end of it, I went up to a slightly higher elevation, and we're going to maintain this elevation all the way down through and around the corner. And if you haven't noticed yet, there's also a map in the top corner. It kind of moves from the top left or the top right. And what's highlighted yellow is the section that you see me building. So that's for the kind of the criteria, is picking that. And it took a lot of time to try to pick a route to make a circle with as few of the corners as possible, and try to keep the elevation as at as few heights as possible. So this whole thing, there's only 4 at different elevations, and one of it is like 35% of the way around, and then the other 3 are in the rest of it. So I'm working my way around the map, and I'm doing this. I wanted to do this before in a previous playthrough, but I couldn't do it. It was so much trouble. It's still a lot of trouble, but what saves us now is, number 1, we have blueprints. I didn't have those before, and we have blueprints with auto connect. So that makes me throw those down really quick, and then I can come back to extend the bridge pillars where needed, and that's really quick. So the blueprints, especially with auto connect, is amazing. The dimensional depot, didn't have that before. I had like a train, I had like a locomotive and a couple cars, and one car was filled with concrete and one was filled with steel beams, and I would load it up, drive it and then I would work a little bit and then move the train up, and then I would go back eventually to get more. So having the depots, and we did have to put a lot of depots. I've got like 8 now on concrete, 3 on steel beams, 3 on steel pipes, 3 or 2 on copper sheets, because there are hyper tubes inside the bridge. You can't see them, they're hidden. I don't even know if I'm going to use them or not, but now is the time. So right up there is a big elevation change, and I actually got to the corner and started to go up, and then realized, nope, I'm not going to clear the ground. So I actually had to come back, destroy that, which, yeah, I'm doing it right now. I'm destroying back, and now I'm starting the elevation change there. So that blueprint, I did something you're not supposed to do. Not that the game's designed to do with Infinite Nudge. I took my existing 6 foundation blueprint. I had to cut 1 foundation off because I can't take a 6 foundation blueprint in the blueprint planner and tilt it up, because then it's wider than 6 foundations. So I had to do it with 5, and I can't put bridge pillars on that foundation because it would be crooked. So those are more time consuming to put down because they don't line up right. I have to use Infinite Nudge to kind of nudge them up, nudge them down, bring them together perfectly. And they also don't have bridge pillars underneath. So then I have to go back and put those pillars in. Those don't quite snap right. Yeah. So the straight tracks go really fast. The corners are time consuming. The slope is the most time consuming. And that was a big one. There's another, we had a short one at the beginning. This is a big one going up. Then there's going to be a short one going down. Or no, I guess the other one's long. No, the first one's the long one, and then another like medium one to get us back to the same elevation. So anyways, it's a lot easier to do this now thanks to the blueprints, thanks to the dimensional depots. But the other thing is I have to keep getting under the bridge, and using the jetpack for that isn't the greatest. So I did a little test, and yes, if the rail is powered, your hover pack will pull power off the rail. So I'm using a hover pack this whole time, which is amazing for when I need to fly underneath the bridge. So here you can tell, there was a short elevation change. Or is this the long one into the swamp? No, this is the long one into the swamp. Sorry. What I remembered was I had made that flat and then was looking at it, and I was like high off the ground. So I think I came back on this one and deleted some of the straight before the corner and then went down. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I thought I did that. Somewhere I did that. But anyways, and you can see those regular foundations. That's the level I need to get to. So I keep taking them with me. And when I get down to that point, you'll see that blueprint has legs, because now I've reached the level I want to be on. The rest of the swamp is going to be that blueprint. But now I've got to come back and put legs under all of those slopes. And I had to like run in there and like measure it out and then start putting them in and, get trees out of the way. And the swamp is a very, very dangerous area when you're down there close to the ground, because there's constantly stuff coming in and shooting at you and throwing things at you. And when I get actually down to the other end of the swamp, you'll see the time lapse stop for a minute, and then you're going to see me drive in on a train because I actually got killed down there. A spitter got right up to me, and when they're right in your face, they can like basically almost fully automatic fire at you. And at that exact second, my wireless keyboard battery got to 0% and my keyboard turned off, and I could not move. I could turn, but I couldn't move, and I didn't know the keyboard had turned off. So yeah, somewhere in here, when you see absolutely nothing going on, that's because I've died. And at some point here soon, you're going to see a train come flying down the tracks, because that's how, when I respawned at the hub, I got back to base. So in order to get the tracks powered, at the very start, yeah, there was the train. I just threw a train station on the ground, and I connected a rail up to get both of these rails powered so I could use the hover pack. So those are the 3 awesome things. So I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, because I got my big double track loop around the map. I do wish the blueprint wasn't just 2 foundations wide. I would like more space between them, but there's several points on this route where I can't quite even fit 2 foundations in. So there's no way I could make it 2.5 or 3 wide. That would have been nice. But I'm real happy I've got my 2-track main line around the map. It's roughly in a big curve going around, and I'm hitting right through areas I want to be in, or I'm like right on the edge of areas I want to be in. I can't do anything about the middle of the map because it's so high. There's no way we could do this up high and also be down in some of these lower areas. This area here is the one area I'm not happy with. There's a giant void in this area where there's just nothing underneath, and you can see me taking out bridge pillars. That first one's on the ground, and then that one's on the ground, and I'm to the corner. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to come back and build some kind of bridge here. And I do at the very end of the time lapse, but I'm not happy with how the bridge came out. I think I had a good idea, but it just didn't work. I need to switch it to a different kind of bridge or something. I'm not really sure. I'm not crazy about it, but that's like the only part I'm not crazy about. Well, I'm also not crazy about the turns, but I cannot use this blueprint design and make a curve. It's just, even if I could, there's several spots where the curve has to be tight. There's not, like right there, I could have made a big radius if I could somehow turn this blueprint, but you can't really make a circle out of the way I chose to do it. So anyways, yeah, I'm really happy with how it came out. Right here, we're going downhill again. No, I'm sorry. This is Crater Lake. We're going to go level through here, and then at the far end of this is when we're going to go down. So we're almost to the end now. We've just got 2 more segments, although this is a pretty long segment. So I'm really happy with how it came out. You might have noticed the hypertube in there sometimes when I'm tearing the corner down. You can see the 2 of them right there because that is a hollow bridge, and so the 2 hypertubes are in there. If I want to use them, cool. If I don't, oh well, but you know, it made sense to put them in at the very beginning in the blueprint and just have hypertubes go all the way around because I would not want to go back later. I did try to like put them outside where you could see them. I'm also not crazy about some of the pillars in this area, but there wasn't a lot I could do about it. I wanted it over near the wall so it didn't look as high, because when you go out more towards the middle of Crater Lake, we'd be way up in the sky again. And you can tell there I'm turning the corner. This next one's a little weird because the next segment that I'm building, you're going to see part of the segment get built right here. And when the camera changes, we're still going to be building that segment. And there's a big downhill right in this next section. So at this point, I know I want to go back and build the bridge. And when we get to this next section, there's a bit of an issue with it. It's actually the highest point on the network as far as how far the tracks are off the ground. So I go down and I'm putting my slope down, which doesn't have the blueprints. And you can tell, so I'm bringing those other foundations, trying to find the plane. And I ended up just barely getting down before I got to the corner there. And that corner doesn't connect right because right there, you can see coming in on the bottom, those are the tracks where it starts. So we're almost back to the beginning. So in a second here, I got to go back on that whole slope, and I fly down and put a sign every 6 foundations to mark where the pillars are going to go. And then I come back with my topmost pillar blueprint and put those in. Then I come back with what was the bottom pillar blueprint and put those in. And you can see I just put 2 bottoms on those. Now this other slope section, I'm going to put the tops in and the bottoms. And the bottoms are so far off the ground that I'm like, I need a blueprint for this. So the time lapse will kind of cut, and you can kind of tell it cuts. And that's because I stopped and I had to go make a blueprint. So there's the original bottoms, and you can't really tell that they're off the ground, but trust me, they're way off the ground right in there. So I go and make another blueprint in a sec. Then we come back and we put what's now the 3rd bottom blueprint in. So those are still the middle ones. And it's going to cut. Yep. So we just cut. So now I'm putting in the new bottom one. So that is the highest point on the map, but we're going downhill the whole time, and there's big trees in the area, so it doesn't seem like you're as high. So this is going to finish up in a second. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the bridge. So I made this blueprint, and I had in my mind a cable stay bridge. And I don't know why, I should have spent more time looking at the site, because the only place it could go there was kind of in the middle. I do tear the bridge pillar down in a minute that's under that. I couldn't put it in the middle. I had to put it there. That was the closest to the middle, but it's really asymmetrical. There's maybe 25% on this side of the bridge, and then on the far side of that, is like 75% of the track. So I've got way more cables going down on the other side than this side. So then I felt like, well, that's going to make the tower fall over. So then I ran 2 cables from the top of the tower to basically the bottom left corner and made like a big concrete like anchor block, which isn't, I think you could do that with a cable stay bridge, but that's not really what they're known for. And then the pillar underneath, I thought, because I knew there was like a void down there, but I'm like, as I go out, the bridge pillars will keep moving away from each other and they'll hit the walls. They didn't come close to hitting the walls, and I went way, way, way down. Now, luckily, there's fog. I have fog off, but there's fog down there, and I don't think you're going to see, but I don't like it. It should have been a suspension bridge with a big tower at each end on solid ground. And then, but I've been like, man, the suspension bridge, that's going to be harder. So I went with the cable stay. I don't really like the cable stay, but it is what it is. So we get this finished up in a minute. And yeah, I don't know. Am I going to leave it? Am I going to go back and change it out? It looks cool when you're on the train and you look and you see the cables in the tower. But when you look down underneath it, you're just like, I don't know about that. So we're going to be done here in just a minute, and I go back to base and I just show you a few things. I show you some of the stuff I've collected. And in last episode, well, in the last 2 episodes, I had it set to where all of the alien remains went upstairs, and using constructors and summer sloops, we processed them into the alien protein, and then we turned the protein into biomass. And then I already had a bunch of solid biofuel. I had 8 storage containers for the packaged liquid biofuel for my jetpack. They all filled up, and we still had so much more. So then I went from 8 containers to 12, and I mean the big ones. 12 of the big containers full of packaged liquid biofuel that we just used for the jetpack. That's ridiculous. That still wasn't enough. I threw 5, so there's the alien remains. Ignore the top stuff, but that's what I got just on that trip. So I had to throw 5 full containers of the liquid biofuel in the awesome sink just to get rid of it. And that thing is still running up there. So this time I'm like, I cannot turn this stuff. So I turned it into the DNA to sync it and get points or get tickets out of it, because I can't use it as liquid biofuel. I feel like we have enough liquid biofuel for the next like 40 episodes. Maybe at some point I'll switch back the remains to make packaged liquid biofuel, but we just literally don't need it right now. So I showed that off. I feel like I got some other clip here. What's this next clip? Oh, we got the rest of the stuff. So I got the 2 paint finishes, the shelf, the hazard boxes, the factory cart, the boom box, and all the music. I unlocked all that. I still got 27 tickets left. Every single thing in the shop
navigates on Fix-It foundation surfaces with extreme efficiency. Not intended for use on hazardous terrain, mildly hazardous terrain, reasonably safe terrain, or general terrain. Fix-It reserves the right to subtract damage to or loss off vehicle from your Save the Day.
I'm trying to figure out how to make it. I don't remember.
For more information about this bonus package, please visit our information booth in Earth, open on the first Tuesdays and Wednesdays of the month, between 6:25 a.m. and 6:53 a.m.
I forgot it was in the equipment workshop, so that's where I had to make it. I put this down. I start to drive it around for a second, and I'm just like, you know what? That's not what this episode's about, and so I shut it off. So in just a second here, this time lapse is going to end. I guess I'm calling this part of the time lapse. And I've got a video right after this that's the full train ride around the track. It's like 7-something minutes. I'm not going to talk through it, so I'm going to end the episode here, and I'm going to say goodbye to you guys. If you want to watch the full train ride, go right ahead. There's not going to be anything else other than that. Otherwise, I will say goodbye, and I will see you guys next time.